So, hello everybody, welcome to the second episode of Coach's Corner. We got a great response from the last one, and subscribers, likes and shares are right up there, which is a great start to the podcast. Obviously, we're on all platforms now, so Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, so we've put it out there to all of them and had a great response so far. And the next guest coming in here is a close friend of mine, Marc Gorman. We come across each other, I think maybe, was it 2 seasons ago, roughly, maybe?
Yeah, 2 or 3 seasons now.
And it's very rare when you can have a coach and somebody that you can bounce ideas off. You have the same sort of ethos, and he has had a great journey in coaching, but more specifically with today's topic, which is the transition from youth to academy. Youth to men's football, sorry. So, Marc, welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Yep, and I always knew, like after the first podcast I had with Katie, she was a little bit nervous at the start, but I'm pretty sure you'll dive straight into it, which is good. So. Firstly, obviously, tell me a little bit about you and your background with coaching.
Okay, so youth coaching. I had my son Dennis, turned 4 or 5 years old. Looked like he fancied kicking a ball, right-footed, unlike me, and so I thought, you know what, I'll take him to the local football club. Took him to his cousin's club, which was Molesey Juniors. His cousin's like a couple of years older, so I took him down to Molesey Juniors. Lovely setup. I think they were one of the biggest in Surrey. Luke Shaw came from there, so I took him down there. With the intention of watching Dennis play, not getting involved. I just kind of finished playing football myself, and I just wanted to be a parent and have no responsibility at all, and watch him enjoy himself. Took him down to Molesey, really welcoming club, and he was put in a trial system, and they liked Dennis right away, which was great, and he went straight into defence. I didn't try and make him become a winger like myself. He just went straight into defence, and that's where he felt natural. So that was quite nice to see, to be honest. Wasn't forced into any position. And then after about 3 weeks, Chris, I was watching the coaching, and I was thinking, blimey, he's not really enjoying it out there. And no disrespect to the 2 lads that took it on, they were dads. They were just dads. They didn't have any coaching badges. They just put their hands up and volunteered to do it, so fair play to them. But after three weeks or so, I could see Dennis was just looking at the clouds at times during training. There was no real connection. So Lisa, my wife, who you've met, she said, "Mark, are you going to kind of get involved and stuff?" And for Dennis's sake, I said, "Well, Lisa, I don't want to come down here and become that dad, become that person." Everyone knew in the area that I'd played football locally. I wasn't a bad player. I think it was just a matter of time really before I did get involved. And then after about 5 or 6 weeks, both managers decided that it wasn't for them. So I stepped in quite naturally. We kept the team together. Our first game was against Epsom Eagles, actually.
Local derby.
It was. Do you know what? It's not too local. It's not too far away. But they're renowned to have a fantastic kind of like winnings. Yeah. Everything, mentality. So the first game was against them, and at half time, the manager from Epsom Eagles, head of ponytail, most people know his name from that area, so I don't have to mention it. He took the goalkeeper off because it was 4-5-0. So he took the goalkeeper off, and I said to him, "What are you doing?" He said, "It just gives you more of an opportunity to score." And I said, "That's a little bit disrespectful." I said, "Your goalkeeper obviously wants to play. I'm sure he's paying to play football." "Oh no, it's fine." And they had a a yellow sock and blue sock system. So if they went 3 goals ahead, they could only use their weaker foot, which is their yellow sock or their blue sock. So I thought that's quite interesting. I didn't mind that bit. But I just felt a little bit annoyed that he had the audacity to take his keeper off. So I thought, okay, I'll just bank that one. So at the end of that 3 months, then you get put into a league that suits yourself. That suits your results. And we had some good players. They just had never, they'd never been trained before. And so the summertime came. So we're talking Christmas time. 6 months later, we had a tournament at Molesey, and we get put against Epsom Eagles, which is the same team. And by that time, our kids had half decent coaching. They'd been told to play with no fear, to make mistakes. It's not a problem, and you could really see this come out of them. You could really see it come out of them. And we got to the final, and we got pitted against Epsom Eagles, and we won 1-0. And it was the best 1-0 I've ever had in my lifetime because of the history, and we played nice football. So that was probably the turning point of me really kind of like enjoying coaching the kids, because you could see they could see the results from 6 months ago being battered to winning a trophy. And let's be honest, and this is quite contentious, I know. Most coaches, first of all, get into football because of their sons. They're playing. They're playing like for their dads. And every kid wants to win. At that age group, there were no leagues with regard to results, so you couldn't really see the results. But obviously, like you heard, and this was at under 6s, under 7s, but I would say from the age of 6, 7, 8, all the way up. If someone says what kid doesn't, kids don't, they're not interested in winning, they're interested in playing, I would say that's nonsense. Which is a shame, because I love the fact that we have kids that want to just kick a ball around, but when they're playing in a match against another team, they want to win, and there's tears if there's not. And I'd say the same for most coaches. The difference is about winning as a coach is that I personally would like to win the right way, and that's not just lumping a ball around. So that was a difficulty that I had at first, because I didn't really know I just turned up on the sideline and coached the kids like I was coaching adults, but with a lot of positive stuff, and then I'd come up against the coach that was shouting at his kids, that was, wanted to win, and I'm thinking, there's a line here. There's definitely a line here.
I've always said that before. I said there's always a bit of a struggle when, for me, the coach or the manager wants to win more than the players.
It's noticeable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so noticeable. And sometimes when they want to win so much, it does sort of deter the players themselves to thinking, is it really that?
Is it worth it?
Is that important as well? Do you know what I mean? And I think there's a big struggle. So like you said there, making sure they win in the right way, being humble in victory, humble in defeat,
Absolutely.
And all of those sort of things, No, definitely.
Absolutely. So, as you know, Chris, I'm really passionate about trying to play football on the floor. And the unfortunate thing at Molesey Juniors, it's right next to the River Mole. And for weeks on end, we were getting games called off because the pitches were sludgy. They're absolutely terrible. So I encouraged them to move the pitches further away and to invest in some machinery. And they didn't really listen, which is fine. But it's no good if you want to coach the football that I wanted to coach. So I got approached by a club called Elm Grove Colts that I later became chairman for, and they had immaculate pitches. The pitches were well looked after. So I spoke to Molesey and said, look, I've had this offer, I'd like to go to Elm Grove, but I'd love to stay at Molesey. I just need to, like a little bit more time invested in the pitches, and they couldn't commit to it. So unfortunately, I took the decision to go to Elm Grove. I say unfortunately, it was a great thing, but at the time I didn't want to leave Molesey. The season I left, they invested in machinery, and they had some fantastic pitches at Molesey Juniors. They ended up with some fantastic pitches, and that was down to a guy called Gary Taylor, who coached Luke Shaw when Luke Shaw went to Molesey. Nice guy. So I ended up going to Elm Grove. Got Lisa involved there. She did a lot of fundraising, bits and pieces. She was the social secretary. Really enjoyed it. Started to enjoy every aspect of the club, not just my team, not just coaching. We changed the showers and stuff into, like the showers and toilets, we changed them into a clubhouse. We started to sell tea, coffees, bacon sandwiches, that kind of thing, and you can see the club really started to grow. And then the chairman decided to leave. He went to America, so they came to me and asked me if I'd be interested in being chairman of the club.
Coach to chairman.
Yeah. Coach as well as chairman, which was which as you can appreciate, mate, opens your eyes to a lot of things, because you're not only just looking after 250 kids, you're looking after the parents as well. So coaching my own team at Elm Grove was really enjoyable. I had Wayne Ridgely there. You'll know Wayne, currently at Chertsey, just got promoted at Chertsey. Had a lad called Luke Donnellan as well, and Luke Donnellan ended up going to Arsenal from Millwall. When he was with me, he got picked up by Fulham, and then Millwall, and then Arsenal paid him £80,000 at the age of 16. Unfortunately, he dropped out of football, which happens, of course. But at Elm Grove, we had some decent players. We had all local lads, and then we got a good name for ourselves. And then at under 12, we won the County Cup, the Surrey County Cup, which got scouts interested, and started to come down and look at the lads. By that time, the better players had gone, had left. But the nice thing was the team stepped up. They didn't rely on Wayne and Luke. They started to become a team even more. Yeah. So we didn't have the best players, but we had a team that understood their roles on the pitch. As I say, they were always encouraged. They were never, they were never slated. I'd never say, "Don't do this." I'd always say, "Unlucky, next time try this." Yeah. So I'd give them the opportunity to correct their ways without being kind of like
not dictated, but maybe just questioned about encouraging them. What could you do different next time, and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly the way you coach your lads. You offer them ideas. You don't really tell them the answer. You let them work it out, and if they can't, then of course you provide the answer. And I think that helped, mate, with the way we started to win a lot of tournaments. I think every year, I think we won the Elm Grove tournament 6 years on the trot. And I'm talking about winning, but that's exactly what the kids, they put their boots on to go and win that game. And when we talk about inclusion, I had a couple of lads there that were best mates of the good players of the team, and I offered them more time with the same age group at the club, teams of the same age group, but perhaps weren't so good, that played in the Surrey Primary Division rather than the Surrey Youth League. We played in the Surrey Youth League Premier Elite Division from day dot all the way through, and it was like going to war every week. Suttons, Whiteleafs, those kind of teams. So I had a bit of a battle with regard to getting players enough game time, like the weaker players. But Chris, I'm not sure if you're aware of that as well. But when the boys get to a certain age, it's not the parents or the coaches that dig out the weaker boy, or the boy that is not able to be as good as his mates. It's their own players. And then what you start to see, mate, is those players, they don't pass to that player because they know they're not going to get a pass back. They know that if they pass it to him, potentially we're going to concede a goal. So then this is the difficulty about managing kids football. Then you have to have a discussion with a parent and say, little Billy, we love him, all the lads love him, he's a great character, he's not enjoying his football at the moment because, number one, he's not getting enough game time, purely because he knows that these players want to win. The parents of those winning players, they want to win. So you have to really balance it out and go with, actually, the majority of this team, the parents, the better players are going to leave if we keep playing little Billy that's going to come on the pitch, give away a penalty because he's slow, or score an own goal. Yeah. It's so difficult. Like the politics.
I think with that as well, like you said, like, it's not the coach, it's not the parents, it is their peers. But I think sometimes the lad knows himself,
exactly,
which makes it a bit difficult for him, like you said, because they might want to be with their mates, but it sort of slows them down. It slows the group down.
It really does.
And sometimes, and we've seen it before, where they will take themselves away.
Yeah.
But then you also have to have the conversations where they need to be told that you will enjoy yourself. It might not be with your best mates, but you'll enjoy yourself more and you'll progress more at your level.
Absolutely that. So, as an example of that, there were 2 lads in our team that were just struggling as the years went on. So I spoke to their parents and I said, look, I can get little Billy or Tommy more game time in the same age group, just a different team at the same club. And I'll guarantee you that if they play there for a season, that I'll have them back the next season. Because they just need their own confidence. It's not that they can't play football; they just need more minutes on that pitch. And they both decided to go to this different team, a different age group, and they went for a season. And I monitored them, made sure they were, trained well enough to be able to come back into our team. Invited them to my own training every week as well. And a year later, I took them back. And that year, we won the Surrey County Cup. And they've got a Surrey County Cup badge. I mean, they would never have done that had we not had that conversation. And I know many coaches would have gone, sorry, Billy, Tommy, you're not good enough. See you later. I got offered players from Ray Rembridge at Chelsea that were on the cusp of they were not quite good enough to sign for Chelsea, and Ray would come to me and say, Mark, I've got this lad here, and I'd say, Ray, I've got this bunch of boys, I've got 9 at the same school, I don't have room to bring like this kid in who's obviously a fantastic player, but I couldn't do that to my players that I'd known since they were 5, and in the end we didn't need to. We didn't need to, because all those boys, they done exactly what was asked of them, and they enjoyed themselves, and there was no egos there. We didn't allow the ego, And to be honest with you, mate, I wouldn't change anything that we've done or haven't done for the world, because it's been a learning process for me as a coach, but also the players and the parents. But yeah, absolutely loved coaching the lads, and then, as I say, we won the County Cup, which drew interest from scouts. So we had a few scouts come down, they watched a few of our games, tournaments, and then a chap called Barry Chapman come up to me at one of the tournaments. Really nice guy. I didn't know him at the time, but as our game was going, I was chatting to him, and I let the boys just crack on with the game. So I was really interested in what this guy had to say. Now, Barry Chapman is now the manager at Bevon Sports, and he came up to me and he said, "My man, Barry Chapman." He said, "I like the way your boys play." He said, "Would you be interested in scouting for us at Brentford?" He was at Brentford at the time. And I said, "Blimey, I don't even know you yet." And he's asking me if I'd be interested in scouting and stuff like that. And I had a really good conversation. I must have been. The game had started and finished, and I think we're on to our next game enough, and I was still talking to Barry. Thankfully, I had a half decent assistant that would take the boys. But he really intrigued me, because he was talking about players and young lads that were summer-born babies. So maturation, statistics and stuff like that. And he picked out a couple of our lads. One was Dennis, my son, another called Alex, and they were both July and August born. And he said, I can tell straight away that these are, young lads. He said, but they've got potential. And he put them straight into the Brentford Development Centre, for their own good, playing with players a year below. And all this really kind of intrigued me, and I was really interested in that kind of thing. So I spoke to Barry and met up with the head of recruitment at Brentford at the time, Sean O'Connor, who's now at Arsenal. And the moment I walked into his cabin at Brentford, I could see the milk cup, like a photo of the milk cup. His Brentford lads had won, and all those boys were summer-born babies, and you could see the pride. It's true. I mean, Dennis was August the 9th born, and his best mate was like September the 2nd. So the whole year.
Yeah,
that's massive.
It's mental, isn't it?
Level. That's massive. So yeah, that's me with the with enjoyment of football coaching, but the chairman side of it, mate, it's that really opened your eyes. And I wanted to lead by example, mate. I was never a believer in badges. We'll talk about the badges now, I suppose. I was never a believer in badges. I always thought they were for Blue Peter. And they, I thought, being the chairman of the club, I need to do my badges. So we had to do level 1 regardless anyway.
Yeah.
That was paid for by the club. And then I decided to do my level 2 UEFA C. And I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it, Chris. I got nothing out of it. It was a 6-month course because I did the weekend ones with the odd Friday, whatever. And I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy the tutoring. And it's no disrespect to the tutors that I had. I didn't agree with a lot of them. And that's personal opinion.
Yeah.
But there were things, mate, that they were asking me to coach, for instance, and I just didn't agree with. I was given a topic of passing, and I was asked why I didn't coach a lace pass down the wing. So in my little test that I had to do, I said that I was a left-footed, of course, and this is how I was going to be passing. It'd be a cross-field pass, and obviously putting my laces through it, across the pitch. And I just didn't agree with one of the things he said. He said, why didn't you coach like laces down the wing? And I said, well, I've got a channel of 5 yards if I'm lucky to get to my winger. I said that's an unknown pass. It could go straight, it could go left or right. And I said it's not a definite pass. A definite pass is the instep, push, punch the ball down the line. It's a definite pass, And there's a few little things like that, and I just thought, I'm really not enjoying this. Passed the course, of course, and then I got brought in and asked if I wanted to be fast tracked to my UEFA B, and I just said no, I don't. I'm not interested. And I was shocked by it because at the time there was a massive queue for UEFA B. I just had no interest whatsoever. And as I say, mate, it's not that I was right. To other people, I may not have been, but in my personal opinion, a few of the things that I was being asked to coach or questioned about, I just didn't agree with.
I think it's actually gone now, because obviously when I done my badges originally, it was when I was quite young, and I think the FA's now, it looks like it's changed, because it was very much like, do this, this is the way that we're playing. But I feel like now, and I haven't been to like a course for some time, but the micro courses that I go to, when they're speaking, they're a bit more open book like now. So they're a bit like, well, it could work this way or it could work that way, which I'm like, but I always remember when I was doing it, I was like, it was always like, why haven't you done this? That would have been the right answer. I was like, how can you tell me what the right answer is in a game of football?
Absolutely that.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely that.
So I think, I'm hoping that it's sort of changing now, with sort of being a little bit more open, but I completely understand what you mean. It was very much like, you should have done this, but that might not have been the right one.
Do you know what, Chris? It's funny because we had 4 or 5 different tutors during my 6 months worth of UEFA C level 2, and there were a couple of characters there that I really liked. They were black cabbies. They'd been involved in the pro game, and I really liked them. But you'd never know what weekend what tutor you'd have. I just didn't look forward to it at all. And I told all my peers, all the classmates, that were there. I think only 60% of the class passed that. And I think, mate, and I'm not one to disagree just for the sake of disagreeing, but I was fortunate enough to have half decent coaching as a kid. I was lucky enough to be at Crystal Palace for 3 years as a schoolboy. I really enjoyed that. The coaching was good, but it was archaic. I was a left winger. I'd always played on the left wing. Not once did they ask me to go onto the right side and cut in, like those kind of things. So, but I did pick up bits and pieces from there. I've picked up bits and pieces from that level 2 course. But the most influential coach for me was my school PE teacher,
Yeah.
a guy called Mr. Catamol, because he would give me all the encouragement in the world. He would say, "Go on, Mark, put it for his legs, put it around him, take him on." You know what I mean? Give that kind of confidence.
Express yourself as
Express
well, yeah.
yourself. And he's the guy that made me the coach that I was with the kids. Do you know what I mean? You'd think it would be, oh, he's your Palace coach or your county cup or your county coach, or it would be someone that's in a higher vein. But it was my PE teacher. He was the one that made me be this. And the one massive piece of advice that my mum gave me, because she's a teacher, it was, Mark, just make sure you don't blanket coach. Don't expect that kid in the classroom to do the same as that kid in the classroom, you know. And that's massive for me. You know, like you do a drill, like just like a warm-up drill, do 10 kick-ups, and you'd have a little Billy and Tommy that could do 1 or 2 if they're lucky.
Yeah.
And then you had Luke, Dennis and Wayne that could do 20, 30, whatever, you know. And don't get the hump because Tommy really can't do more than 3. Do you know what I mean? And you know, then you had to. This is again the skill of coaching, of course, and you'll know it. When you coach, you have to put on a session that meets Luke's level of ability and Tommy's, and make sure Luke doesn't get bored, and make sure Tommy is encouraged enough to be able to feel that he's worthy. And that's hard. That is so difficult, but it's a challenge I loved. I absolutely loved it, mate. And the characters, and you would put different games in where you know Tommy's going to be good at this and Billy's going to be good at this because it was something they could do. So you couldn't just put on a session and go, hey, that's it.
We put it in. I put it in like 3 categories. It's like comfort, stretched, and then stressed. So if you ever get into the point where someone's stressed at coaching, they're too far. If they're comfortable, they're not being pushed enough. It's so important to keep them in that stretch thing where they're all stretched. But like you said, Tommy's level of stretching him and his mind and his body is going to be different to another person. Absolutely. So, you know, adapting that to try and make sure they're all in that stretch, because that's where learning comes from, when you're being stretched, not when you're stressed.
No.
If you're too far gone, it's over. And if you're too comfortable, you're not learning anything.
Exactly.
It's so important to be in that middle category.
And that's why I say back then, you kind of like just let things unfold. Let things unfold, mate. And then it'll be the players that are digging out Tommy and Billy, and it's not me saying to the parents, Tommy and Billy aren't good enough. You know, you'd say to them, look, even the lads are having a, you know, and that's when you have that conversation. But I learned so much about people skills as a coach. Made I would say made some mistakes naturally, but never intentionally. And as long as you learn by them, then I don't think there's any issue whatsoever. But going back to the Palace thing, and this is the difficulty, is there were kids being released at Crystal Palace that were good players, and there were players being kept at Palace that weren't so good. And then you go into the clubhouse afterwards and you'd see the player that wasn't so good, you'd see his dad like cozying up to the coaches. It's very, very cliquey, and I didn't want that to happen. On my watch as a youth coach, you know, I wanted them to be there on merit. Do you know what I mean? So again, these kind of things you kind of like pick up as a kid, you know. But yeah, really enjoyed it.
Right. Okay, so what's really interesting, speaking with Katie on the last one, and there's always something from the starting point or our own journeys, like you said about your teacher. She spoke to me about her teacher that's sort of got us into it and got some characteristics from it. We've obviously spoken about that younger age groups coming up now. What I want to look at now is that transition. So we've spoke quite heavily about the youth going into men's, and obviously now you're coaching within that men's football. So the transition from youth to men's, what experiences have you had where you've seen that transition? And I want to hear like where it's worked and where it's not worked.
Okay, that's a good question. So that afternoon, Barry Chapman come and watched at the tournament, and we had that chat. He spoke about me going to Brentford, and then he said, "Oh, by the way, I've just taken on the role of the under-18s manager at CB Hounslow.
Right, okay.
Over in Hounslow, which wasn't too far from where I lived in Walton-on-Thames.
Yeah.
And he said, would you be interested in doing some coaching there? You know, so you've got a half decent way with the kids. And I said, under-18s? He said, yeah. I said, well, to be honest with you, I've you know, my lad's now under 12. You know, I've not really gone there. I said, but football's football. You know? And he said, exactly. So he said, would you come and do it? I said, I'll do a session and just see what happens. I did this session for him like on the following Thursday. Turned up in Hounslow, and it was an eye-opener. It was a real eye-opener because you could see a lot of those kids were kids that were not off the street, that's unfair, but kids that were like me, really, from the council estate, didn't have a lot, and football was their get out. You know, it was full of predominantly black lads, smashing lads. I mean, all of them, different nationalities as well. Some Indian lads, Pakistanis, obviously the Caribbean, and you know, loads and loads of, you know, like different nationalities. A lot more than where I'm from, like where I was from in Walton. So yeah, I did my first session there, and it was brilliant. It was at a little pitch, a 4G pitch. I think it's called Beavers School in Hounslow. And as I say, I did exactly the same that I would do with my under 12s. You know, technical stuff. And straight away you could see the ones that could cope and the ones that weren't quite so adept at the time. And Barry Chapman was basically looking for players to take on for that next season coming.
In the first team?
Yeah.
Like,
no, for the 18s.
For the 18s,
for
right.
the 18s.
Got ya.
His son Alfie got involved. And we could see quite quickly the boys that were going to be able to cope and not. We had, I'd say, 40-odd players there to choose from. Yeah, we picked out some players, and mostly on the technical ability because of the sessions that we put on, the technical based. And from then on, I absolutely loved it, mate. We had a team sorted out, did very, very well. And within 3 months, Barry was asked if he'd take the first team on. Frank James was the chairman at CB Hounslow, lovely guy. He got a lot on his plate with regards to different teams there. He must have taken, through his lifetime, over like thousands of kids off the street to come and play football, to take their mind off any issues that they've got, which was probably my first. It was the main factor why I got included in football, involved with football, because it took my mind off what was going on at home. Yeah, of course. Single parent, family type stuff. So I could really relate to these kids. I really related to them, and they're happy and smiling, and most of them had nothing, you know. So to give them a pair of like my old football boots, whatever, you know, they'd be like so pleased. You know, it was so. Yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I'd never come across anything like that before. You know, I'd been involved in Walton, Hersham, Weybridge surroundings where kids didn't really struggle for any football boots or stuff like that. So that was nice to get involved with there at Hounslow. Big eye opener. So Barry took on the first team role at CB Hounslow, and we had a half decent team. We played nice football. We played at the first season. We played out of Bedfont and Feltham. It was a pitch share there. It wasn't the best pitch, but the boys still wanted to try and play football. Barry Chapman lives in the area. He had stalwarts with him that he'd known for years, Gavin Bamford and a few others from that area that were known, that were like ex-Uxbridge players. He put a decent team together. And we had some success that season. We got promoted from step 6 to step 5. Bedfont and Feltham came second. I think Abbey Rangers came third, and from then on, obviously, Abbey Rangers have stayed at step 5, and Bedfont and Feltham went back down to step 6. But it was during those times, Chris, that where I thought under 18 football was where it's at, because no one's getting paid. All the kids are there because they want to be there. You know, there's no egos whatsoever. So I really enjoyed the first team at CB Hounslow, and then I got the opportunity to coach under 18s at Walton and Hersham, which is my own hometown. And bearing in mind by then, the lads that I'd coached, like Dennis, for instance, they were coming up to 16 years old. So it kind of like made sense to thank Barry for the opportunity with the first team, and then go and create this team at Walton and Hersham. And we were full of first years. The boys were full of first years. Had some amazing players. None that have made it pro, but good lads that were happy and wanted to listen and learn. We played in the midweek Allied Counties.
Allied Counties,
yeah. We played the teams like Fleet Town and Ash. I think the best footballing team that we came up against that season was probably Fleet Town, that was run by Neil Selby and Dan Bailey, that helps now at Badshotly. But we came second to Ash, actually, on goal difference. Ash were a team full of second-year players, and you could tell, that they'd obviously had a year already experienced in that division. And I'd always thought of under-18 football as development football, because I'd been involved with the first team, which was all about winning. I've been involved with the under 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 12s at Elm Grove, which was about learning. But the under 18s football for me was about bringing kids, getting the kids to a level where they could go straight into first team football. That for me, I'm sure you're exactly the same. When you see a 16-year-old put his shirt on and go and play first team football somewhere.
Yeah, so when you say that, so what's quite nice there, so when you were at CB Hounslow with the first team, and then you went over to Walton and Hersham, was there a thing that when you went over there, you were thinking, I sort of know where to take these boys to be ready for because obviously that was, I'm assuming CB Hounslow was your first experience, first team football. It was,
yeah.
Then you went to Walton and Hersham. So were you thinking, I sort of know where I need to get you at, even though it's two different areas?
Yep. Absolutely that.
So then you could sort of tell there what you needed to work on.
It was absolutely that. Barry Chapman at CB Hounslow. His expression, obviously, lots of people use it, but if you're good enough, you're old enough.
Yeah.
And he loved Dennis. He knew Dennis from the age of 12, and he loved Dennis. He loved Dennis's ability to rise above, being 2 goals down. It didn't matter, because in a minute we're going to score again. And the ability to put his arm across someone, even though he's 16 and he's put his arm across an adult, you have that determination and courage to. It doesn't matter if you're 10 years older than me. I'm here now.
Yeah, we used it. Well, I used the phrase that it's stages, not ages. That's the way we look at it. It's where you're at. You could be 15, 16-year-old, and obviously I've had experiences of quite a few 16-year-olds coming into the first team, and sometimes I'm thinking you're not quite ready just by having that little experience, and others I'm thinking you've enjoyed that, you've excelled on that, and there's something to build off of.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that with you when I first helped out at Frimley Green. That there was 3 or 4 lads there. Rowan come to mind at first. Big lad, physically, good enough, just the experience, which now he's had 2-3 years now playing men's football.
Yeah, and right now towards the back end of this season, he's been absolutely flying.
Yeah,
it was a difficult one for us to get to that point. Like there was like a blind period this season where I'm thinking he's not where I want him to be, but now I'm thinking
that next level.
Yeah, it's just
stages. Next stage.
He's at the next stage, and even he messages saying, just thank you so much for believing in me, because I thought at some point I wasn't going to be where I'm at now, but now he knows the importance of him within the team.
It's brilliant and great to see.
And you've met another one of ours before, Sean.
Sean. Technically excellent.
Honestly, the lad, like, mentally is something that I've never experienced before in my life. Like the focus of it. And he probably said to himself he wanted to be in the first team this year. And he's been in and out like a couple of times when we've been
he's
low
a young
numbers.
One though, wasn't he?
Yeah, but then the turning point was last training session for us. He was the best player at training.
Was he?
And even Thummers and all the boys were like, unbelievable.
It just clicks. It does. It just clicks, and you think, wow, this. And as we said before about Brentford, it's maturation. You know, you take into account that kid's actually a whole year younger than him. Imagine what it's going to be like in a year's time. You know, it's not enough. I still don't think is being done about maturation. You know, I think in the grassroots, if you're, you know, April onwards, you should be allowed, I think, to play in the league below, in the year below. I really do believe that. But yeah, so at Walton we had a fantastic first year, and we played on a 3G at Walton. It was that new, like the new complex had opened, so there was no excuse not to play football on the ground. And yeah, it's so enjoyable. And then still being 16 at the end of that season, Barry Chapman had obviously been at CB Hounslow still with the first team, and he said, "Mark, he said, I need a centre back." He said, "I want Dennis. I want Dennis to come and play." And I said, "Mate, he's just 16, you know, like." He said, "I want Dennis." Dennis, he's a brown belt judo. You know, he could hold his own. There's no problem. I didn't have any problem with him physically. It was just, you know, that Step 5 division was, you know, full of players that didn't mind mixing it. You know, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go. So Dennis went and played over there. So I had a decision to make. Did I stay in my second year at Walton and Hersham, or did I go and, at the time, go and watch Dennis? I didn't want to coach. I didn't want to coach him. I wanted him to have someone else coach him. You know, I'd coached him all my life. So it was one of those. I was undecided. But whilst I was at Walton, we had the option to go into the second year, under 18 football, which I thought would have been far too easy. By that time we'd be all second year players. You know, we came second only on goal difference to Ash, that were full of second year players the year before. I don't think any other team in that division was going to give us a test. So I opted to go straight into the 23s at Walton and Hersham. We set up a 23s. And then when Dennis got asked to go to CB Hounslow, my assistant manager, Danny James, he said, "Mark," he said, "listen, if you want to go and watch Dennis and that," he said, "I don't mind taking this team on." And you know, he really enjoyed coaching alongside me. He learned a lot. So he took those boys on in the 23s league and did okay, to be fair. And I went and watched Dennis for a little bit, and then the coaching bug came back, of course. So,
went back into it.
Yeah, but it was so nice to see Barry Chapman give Dennis his opportunity. His first game was against Chertsey. They beat Chertsey 6-0. He had a blinder, absolute blinder. And then 9 months later, the Chertsey club, they went to Wembley and won the Vase. So it's incredible how football works, isn't it?
But what gave Dennis? Well, obviously the opportunity was there from Barry, which was amazing. But how? What is it that gave Dennis the physical and the mental capacity to go and step into that first team? Because obviously some people would just take it. Yeah. Some people were like, I want that opportunity. But physically and mentally, what is it that took him to do well there?
Do you know what, mate? Every player that I coached, they were individually, they had something. And I'd say Dennis's strength was his ability to enjoy a 1v1 type scenario, whether it was on the judo mat. He played judo all over Europe, 1v1. So to be able to do that in front of people and take someone on, I think gave him the
confidence to step on,
the confidence to step into a team of 11. I mean, really, when you consider you'd be 1v1, and you know, he got a bronze medal in Ireland. You know, so when you're up against that, and suddenly you're put into a team of 10 others, it's kind of like, you know.
Well, I think the whole fact of going in for let's say a wrestle, a fight, whatever it was with judo, 1v1, mentally you've got to be strong enough to say, I'm taking that opponent on. Physically, you've got to be competent enough to take that on. And obviously, I think the only difference there is, like you said, is you've got your team around you, which is probably something that, if he's on a judo mat 1v1, I mean, you have teams around you, don't you? Your coach and all of that stuff.
Got the coach on the side.
How did he adapt to? Because obviously he had that mental, he had that physical. How did he adapt to being within a team?
He loved being in a team. He preferred to be a 1v1 situation because it's all on him.
Yeah.
You know, he got run over actually at the age of 13 in the school grounds. That lady was late for dropping her boy off to school, so she went down like a no car zone, and Dennis came around on his BMX and she ran over him. So Dennis broke his leg at the age of 13, which is a difficult time because you've got your growth plate that was affected and they weren't sure how he'd react to things. I think him breaking the leg, coming back from it, his first tackle after he came back from, I think he was out for 8-9 months, it was a nasty injury. The first tackle, me on the sideline as his dad but also as his coach, seeing him go through that and come out of it smiling and like punching the air as if to say, my leg's fine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That for him I think was a massive growth factor. But what I would say, mate, is anyone that's listening to this that got young kids, the best thing we did for Dennis was take him to judo, because you are on your own in there. You are accompanied. You've got some fantastic coaches. We lived in Walton at the time. Dennis had won his judo tournament, his local judo tournament, quite easily, and there was a lady there called Samantha Skillcorn that coaches for in the Olympics. Subsequently married her husband Vince Skillcorn, again exceptional judo player, and they all lived at Camberley, at the Camberley Judo Club, which is well renowned for Olympians. Karina Bryant won bronze in the Olympics. She lived there. So we took Dennis over there. We got invited, like Dennis got invited over there, and we were there 3-4 times a week. And the coaching that the boys and girls get there is exceptional, because they don't accept excuse me, they don't accept what's the word to put in it? I've got to put it in a half decent way. You have to go there, and you have to, but you feel like you have to perform there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's a judo club, like a local judo club, and then there's Camberley Judo Club.
They've got high expectations.
They've got high expectations. Yeah. And his first session there, I looked at Lisa and I said, he won't come back next week. He won't come back. He's doing, shuttles. He's going round and round. He's doing press-ups, sit-ups. He'd never done anything like that. And the sweat is dripping off him. And I said to Lisa, he's not coming back. He's not coming back. He came off there and he said, Dad, I loved it. Yeah. And as much as I know that Dennis doesn't want a challenge, I didn't think that would be for him. If I hadn't taken to judo, I wouldn't really have known Dennis's character like that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. And there's lots of boys and girls there. You look at them and go, oh, he's some of them, Chris, seriously, when they get on that judo mat, they're a different person. If they've got any worries at school, it's all gone, and they're taking their aggression out in a controlled manner against another person of the same-ish weight.
Well, I just think it's more like the ownership, because the hardest thing that young players have playing within a team, it's very, very easy to be like, that's his fault, that's his fault. Dennis has been put in an environment in judo 1v1 where if you make a mistake, if this goes wrong, this is me. I can't blame my left back, my right back, my centre half. This is me. So naturally it gives him that ownership of like, I know my role and I'm willing to take that, because a lot of people find it hard to put their hands up and say, it was, we didn't win that game because of our goalie, of our striker, stuff like that. But there's so many players that are only in that football team environment that haven't experienced that one-to-one, one-on-one ownership of themselves. And I think that's why, and even me speaking to Dennis and knowing Dennis, he can hold his hands up easy. And I think certain players can't, because they haven't been put in that, it's all on me. Go and play a tennis game. Go and play a 1v1 tennis match. 1v1. And you lose. Whose fault is it? Do you know what I mean?
There's nowhere to turn. You can't. Some will blame their racket. Some will blame the ball. When I play golf, it's the golf ball, or it's you know what I mean. There's always someone. There's always someone to blame. But when it is you against someone else on that mat, that judo mat, it's it's accountability, and you can only blame yourself. He did the same with boxing. He went into a boxing ring and did a white collar event for his auntie that passed away from cancer, unfortunately. He did exactly the same. So he's had no fear with regard to that, but it was the judo 100% that put him on his way. So I would definitely encourage judo, because you're not going to get hurt, not with decent coaches, but you're going to learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah. So you're fully into the first team football currently right now, and you've obviously probably had some exciting times of players coming up, situations where they're not quite ready, and you've used some examples when they were younger with the young lads that went into another team and stuff like that. How do you deal with the players that aren't quite at that level, and do you change your coaching style with a player that's not quite ready but is in and around it, a youngster?
Do you know what, Chris? I love coaching. I liked managing the kids. I didn't overly enjoy managing the parents, but I loved coaching the kids. When you manage at this level, first team level, there's no parents to deal with. That's the pleasure. There's ego to deal with as you manage. There's giving players their weekly money if you're at a club that's got a budget. I actually think at the moment I would struggle to manage. Coaching, no problem. I'll get back to that question in a minute, but going on about managing, at the moment I would struggle to have money in my hand and give it to a player that's not putting the effort in, and they come to me and they open their palm up and want me to put money in there. At the moment I'd struggle, and that's why at the moment I don't manage. It's because I don't have that filter. I think I'd upset a few players. With regard to the coaching of that, I love seeing the youngsters come through. I went and saw Badshot League last night versus Hartley Whitney, and Badshot League got two young lads on the pitch. I think one's 18 and one's 16. And for me, it was worth the entrance fee. In fact, it was football for a fiver last night, but it was well worth it. I love the fact that they've thrown in a semi-final against Hartley Whitney two young lads, and they've both held their own. I'm smiling. I'm watching this. I'm watching these two kids. They're literally kids. Hold their own against Hartley Whitney. And they were victorious.
And how far off are those two people in relation to the rest of the squad?
You wouldn't have known. Apart from the size, this little lad, number 11, I don't know his name. I did know his name yesterday. I forget his name. This little lad, he was tiny. But this is what I love about football now. Back in the day, I sound like an old man now. I am, I suppose. I was a left winger and I was tiny. If I tried to be a centre back or striker, I wouldn't have fitted. But I was a left winger, but I still got hit a lot. I was quite tricky. I was quite quick. But the game's changed now. So the beauty of the game now is that you can throw a kid in at 16 years old, and you know he's going to be safe, because it's a sport where now it's becoming you can't get touched, or otherwise it's a foul. So I love that aspect of the game now. You can confidently, like there's obviously child welfare, issues. You're 16 years old still, you're a gaffer like Gavin Smith is at the Bad Shot. There's a kind of like a duty of care, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? 16 years old, but it's that risk now is far lessened because the game's changed in that respect, and I love the fact for that. I do love the fact that.
So if you're the manager of Badshot Lee after seeing that game last night, what do you do next game?
You've got to start the same player, haven't you? Because it's confidence. Do you know what I mean? Arm around the shoulder stuff, saying, that was unbelievable, you did so well today. Tell him all the things he did right, give him that real confidence, and if there's anything that he needs a little bit of work on, just say, next time, if you get in that area again, that position again, check that shoulder first, then you'd put your mate away straight like a 1v1. Do you know what I mean? Those kind of things.
It's good that you say that, and then they play that game, you're managing them at that game swallows them up and they have an absolute stinker. What do you do next?
Yeah, arm around the shoulder, and you explain the reason why he was successful last week, and not this week. But that takes a coach or manager that understands how that game went yesterday, for instance, the game wasn't so good for him, and appreciate why. And it may just be a case of the manager or coach saying, I tell you what, he's getting swallowed up in that area there, but 10 yards further back, put him there, he'll start to dominate again.
Yeah, I think the horrible thing about it is with some managers that give boys that opportunity to come in and do that, and the game does swallow them up, and then the manager's got their own pressures. Does that couple of players slowly just fade away? We don't see him again. Like this is the importance of having a good manager, I think.
Yeah, you know what? I think, Chris, if you get some decent results with that young lad, you know that actually he's worth sticking with. If you have a couple of bad results and he's not played so well, it's easy to say, yeah, he's not ready.
Yeah,
but he was ready 2 weeks ago and he dominated. Do you know what I mean? And you get that a lot. Oh yeah, I invited him in the group for 3 or 4 weeks. He was really good at training, and then really good for a couple of weeks, and then his head wasn't on it. Well, why wasn't on it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think as a coach manager, you have to take some responsibility and go, well, 3 weeks ago you were loving him. Everyone's raving about him. And then you start to question perhaps, and this is a skill, mate, that you've got as well. Is there something else going on outside of his little bubble of football?
Yeah.
What's making him perhaps not perform as well? Maybe he looks a little bit sad. What's going on? You know what I mean?
I think it's got to be that element of perseverance. I mean, I've gone through it this season. I've decided to have a young side and stick with them. I mean, there's been moments and points where I've had to go beyond and bring some people in and stuff like that. But the be all and end all is at the end of it, I've achieved my goal which was halfway through the season change of keeping the club up. Yeah. But I've done it with a majority of the season with those younger players. Yeah. And even if it's only 4, 5 or 6 of them that you potentially see next season, they've all learned what it takes. And do you know what? I used Dennis as an example for this because I had an hour phone call with him, and it didn't sound like I was speaking to you on the phone because he was talking about blanket coaching and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And he gave me an hour on the phone of me looking at the situation that I was in with months ago with the rest of the season, and it giving that sort of trust within all those young players has been so rewarding. And Dennis gave me advice from him keeping a club up, not getting relegated, and now all of my 25-man squad that I've got on their CV, they can turn around to people and say, I was a part of Frimley and I kept them up. Yeah. And absolutely. How far does that go? And I said, Dennis said that to me. He goes, I said, I want to have a chat with you, Dennis. Spoke to him for an hour. I've kept a club up before, so here's my bit of advice. Yeah. So my 25 lads that I've got now can speak to other people and say, you just got to make sure you do this. You've got to do this. Yeah. And they can all say that now. It's on their CV. Absolutely. You don't want it on your CV that you got relegated.
Breeds confidence. Well, Dennis was at Bag Shot, so I helped coach at Bag Shot. I got Barry Chapman in because he's a great manager. He's a great manager, Barry Chapman. I'd love to connect you at some point. Really good guy. He's he had a black book of players. We went into Bag Shot. I think they had 9 points by December. They were rock bottom. Everyone said, "Now they're gone. They're gone." So that was a challenge. Brought Dennis in at centre back, and he got hamstring issues and stuff like that, but he wanted to play for Barry. He wanted to play for Barry as much as I wanted to play for my PE teacher at school. Do you know what I mean? That massive respect that you have for someone. You got a slight niggle or something. It doesn't matter because it's Barry. Yeah. You'll have that. I've got kids now that are 23, 24 that text me. If I put a memory of us winning the county cup, for instance, 13 years ago, like when the kids were 10, 11, 12, and they'll say, Mark, those memories are amazing. Stay with you. Thank you so much.
So, looking ahead, with sort of what you've got and stuff like that, like future aspirations of coaching, like you say, the coaching is where your passion lies, management not so much. What are your rewards from coaching going forward? You've had many previously. Like, what are you looking for now?
Do you know what, Chris? Every time I go training on a Thursday, currently with the Nap Hill lads, they've been an absolute pleasure. But the thing that really does it for me is that when it reaches time to go, finish time, they're all like, no, Mark, let's just have 5 more. And obviously, like, the place is booked out. We were at Winston Churchill. We play at Winston Churchill. And the sessions, I do some technical stuff like with them, and technically all the players are good. So it's a real pleasure for me. It's like being an academy coach, really. It's quite easy. Do you know what I mean? Because you show them something, you ask them something to do, you'll show some different patterns, nice simple stuff, and they'll get it. Yeah, and once I know they've got it and it looks good, it's not just like a fluke that it went well that time. Yeah. Once we do it 3 or 4 times and it's successful, we have a game. Yeah. And the games are getting longer and longer each week because I really enjoy seeing these lads popping the ball 1 and 2 touch for half an hour. It's quite selfish of me, really. Yeah. But I love the sound of the. Do you know the passing? I absolutely love it, and it excites me. All the while I'm getting that excitement, I'll be happy to coach at any club. The step doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. It never has done. I've been offered roles at step 3 in the recent past, and I've turned it down. Because of the travel, I don't want to be getting at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday morning from Merthyr Tydfil or wherever. The step really doesn't bother me whatsoever. It's the makeup of the lads that you have there. They don't all have to be fantastic players, but they've all got to want to be there. They've got to want to be there. And that's what we get at Naffield this season. And I think that's why it's been the most successful year this year. Is because they've all come training and they've listened and they've done exactly what's been asked of them. And as a coach, I'm smiling now because you can't get. There's nothing better than that. In 100 years at Naffield, this is the most successful season, and it's lovely to be a part of that. And so obviously, like yourself, you look at some of the VO clips of some of the passages of play, and you say that's from training, that's from training, that's from training.
Pick it up,
and when you see that, Chris, seriously, for the future, never say never. I like managing people. I look after 12, 13 lads at work every day. So at the moment, I'm busy with them. Whether I could do that and also wipe 20 upper bums every week, 2 or 3 times a week, I don't know at the moment. And then again, I'd have to have a filter where. Because obviously they do get paid, it's semi-pro football. I'd have to go, okay. In my day, you'd be paying to play football. But the way it is now, there's your 20.
I mean, we implemented it this season. To be fair, I just said to him, like, we're going to have a win bonus that's going to be split up between all of you. That's the way we went to it. And first couple of games were great. We won, and then we didn't lose and nothing. And then you obviously had to, when it was getting to that touchy point of like having to try and pay some other people to come in, and then rewarding actually some of the players. I didn't want it to be fixed like every week. Here you go. I want it to be like we win, great. And there was even games where we won and we were awful. And none of the players asked for their win bonuses, so it was quite nice to have that mentality. But going back to what you said there about the buzz that you get from sessions, I've literally just walked away from a session tonight. Normally have 14, they're under 10s. 7 turned up, so I'm thinking we're working on possession and transitions tonight, and I was like, this is going to be like quite difficult for me. Last 15 minutes, the smile on my face, I just walked them over and they were all fuming. Because it was, when they've been stretched and they were like so frustrated, but it was so good, the quality was so good. I said, boys, I've just had the biggest smile on my face 15 minutes. Because it was just, I was buzzing. And I just stood back and I just watched, and some of the players that not been performing so well are now performing great. I was just like, and they're the rewards, isn't it, that you get from it. And you're like, especially when like one of the lads who was the best trainer today, previously was probably in sort of the lower end of the group, and he just excelled so much.
Isn't that lovely to see, isn't it?
Oh, it's just that it gives you, it's the reason why you do what you do. Like it's the
good age as well, isn't it?
Under 10s. It was great. Well, no, so we're sort of coming towards the back end of this now. What I wanted to do is every person that I've come that's going to come in here, they've got a question that they've given me that I'm going to give to you. So this is from Katie. She said, that moment the final whistle goes and you've lost the game poorly, what are your next steps starting within the changing room and beyond?
That's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you've just lost poorly.
Do you know what, Chris? From my experiences, after the game in the dressing room, the manager gives a dressing down. He may be. It might be constructive criticism. It might be going off his trolley about things. The way I like to approach it is I ask the players, guys, what do you think went wrong out here? I say that a lot at half time. What do you think? How are you feeling being next to your buddy here? What, are you feeling comfortable? Do you feel that he's not taking responsibility on? Because there's a fella there he's got all the time in the world. Why isn't he marked? Do you feel uncomfortable to go towards him? Tell me how you feel, guys.
Yeah. Do
you know what I mean? I don't think the players are asked enough. I was never asked as a player what I'm feeling out there. Mark, how are you feeling out there? What's going on, mate? And then I'd say, okay, well, every time I get the ball, I want to pass it down the line and I've got no overlap. You've asked me to put a diag in.
Yeah.
My fullback's not getting high enough. If you're playing a 3-5-2, my fullback's not getting high enough to offer me that. So I look like a bad player. You're asking me to put that diag in, and he's not offering it. Paul Scholes wouldn't be the player he was if he didn't have players running off him.
Yeah.
So I think, mate, if and when I become a manager, the first thing I will do is make sure that I get the players' thoughts, because as a player myself, I would have loved to have been asked in a calm manner, Mark, they're getting so much success down that right side, your left wing or left back, whatever, or left wing back, what do you think's happening? And then I can explain the reason why I think I'm getting overloaded.
Yeah.
And I want to pull Terry in from the right hand side a little bit.
Yeah.
He comes more central, and the central midfielder can come across and help me. But if you're getting told all the time and pointed at, the shots go down. I don't think there's enough of that. I really don't think there's enough of how you feel. What do you think we can do?
Yeah, 100%.
You're good with that. You're good with the lads. Chaps, what do you think? You can't. Are you not finding your exits very well? There's language. I've learnt from you. I've learnt from a 5-year-old. You can, as a coach, you can learn from anyone.
Yeah.
You can learn from the worst player in the world. And I love the fact that I pick up different language, because the kids that are used to the words that come out of your mouth may not be used to mine when they leave you and come to another club, and then I'm the manager and I'm using different type words. It may not really correlate very well. So it's nice to be in and around different clubs. I've been at loads of clubs mainly to help them get out of the worst areas of the division, because I want to help people. Generally in life, I want to help people. When I'm asked to help CB Hounslow at a third from bottom mid-season and make sure they stay up and bag shot, that's just as important. In fact, it's more rewarding than getting promoted with CB Hounslow into step 5, because you genuinely are helping someone. The chairman at bag shot, by the way, such a nice guy. When he spoke to me and Barry about us potentially going in to help him, I just had to look at his face and know that he was genuinely
desperate.
He was desperate. He wanted help. And I said to Barry at the time, let's help him. And Barry he said, Mark, if you didn't say it, I'd have said it. Because he was desperate for help, John. He was such a lovely guy, a real gentleman. And the smile and the little the tears of joy on the second to last day of the season, when we knew we kept them up, that will live me forever.
And it's that caring nature, because it depends how you look at it, because we're always battling against old school style of managers, clubs, committees within clubs. I actually said to my lads 2 months ago, I said, be prepared for the most exciting, emotional finish. Last game of it went down to the last game of the season. I'm on the ferry over the way to Isle of Wight. It's like, this is exciting, isn't it? Speaking to the chairman, he was like, no, this is not exciting. I was like, but it is, isn't it? Because if we go and achieve what we're going to achieve, imagine the actual buzz that you can feel from what you've achieved. And it is exciting. Like, I would never be scared of the situation that we're in. It's obviously going to be challenging.
Do you know what, Chris? You've got to take the bull by the horns, and also you need to put things in perspective. You've had a team really full of youngsters all season, near enough, all season, and you've had that euphoria by staying up. Do you know what I mean? We've got the playoffs coming up. We've got the playoffs on Saturday. But my aim at the start of the season, my remit, if you like, when I agreed to go back to Nap Hill, was to put a style of play into practice, which we've done, and to get into the playoffs. That's achieved.
Yeah.
So for me now, and I mean it's hand on heart, if we don't go up as a club, it's unfortunate, but I'm proud of what
you set your achievements.
Yeah, and you need that. So you put in the future, personal aims are massive, because if you don't have a personal aim, but also if you don't achieve a personal aim, you've got to take the good from it.
Yeah.
You've got to re-establish things. You've got to look at things and go, do you know what? We may not have got into the playoffs, but next time.
I said at the start of the season, which everyone again was a little bit confused about. I said, for me in football, it's first or second. With the league that we're in, it's 5th or 6th, or it's 18th and 19th.
There you go.
I said, if we would have finished 11th or 10th this season,
it's nothing, isn't it?
We finished 18th.
Yeah.
On the border of relegation. I'm like, and for me, I'm thinking, I'm a manager that's kept a team up, and I finished 18th. Yeah. Obviously now, I want to be trying to say, because at the start of the year was let's hit the playoffs. Yeah. We've got to do whatever we can to try and be up and around there next season. Yeah. And if it's 5th and 6th and another exciting time, or we've got to keep ourselves in there, that's what I've got to aim for next time.
Naturally, as manager, you are going to bring in a few new faces. Yeah. But the faces you are going to keep have got that experience. You can't coach that experience. Yeah. That's come from playing this season before last, with other lads at Premier Green, obviously since gone. All those experiences, you can't buy that. Nah. Do you know what I'm loving at the moment? I'm helping Bad Shotley under 10s. I'm helping them. I've helped them for the last 5 or 6 weeks. And mate, some of the football they're playing,
it's good.
It's lovely.
Yeah,
it's so good. And we've lost, and I've smiled. We've drawn 2, and I think we've won 1 or 2. I can't remember. But even when we've lost, I am buzzing because they've done something from the training field 2 nights before. Do you know what I mean? And the parents are brilliant, and they're all like whooping and cheering because they know, cause they all come. This is amazing. All the parents of that team, they all come and watch training. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's great.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So they can see what we're doing. I do it with Jamie Daltrey, that's the manager at Nap Hill, and he manages well. He does. He manages all those boys really, really well, and I just come in and do some passages of play which they weren't used to before, so it's new and exciting for them. You know, and we have little tricks and bits and pieces to get past the defenders, and mate, seriously, they're a real pleasure. So if I didn't coach men's football, I've got kids football. Do you know what I mean? So I'm happy at any level, mate, really.
Right, we've got a final thing which is a challenge. If you can see up on there, it says Katie on the leaderboard. Did you see this last time?
So I did, mate, and she did very well.
She did do very well. So, but the only problem it is still 500 apparently.
It'll go to charity, mate.
But I need to try and explain it, because some people saw it on YouTube, some people only listen to the audio. So basically, there's like I don't know how many there are. It must be like 20. Yeah. Maybe 20 little figures which has got colours on the bottom, and Mark's got 3 lives, and he's going to pick one up. If he matches the 2 colours, that's 1. She got up to 4, and if you clear the whole board, it's 500. I think it's actually good to be 500 because I don't think anyone's going to do it.
I'll do it. I looked at it the other day and I'm thinking, nah, I'm no good at this.
Your memory is alright, isn't
it? What's your name again?
Right, so 3 lives.
Okay.
First one is blue, so he's picked out blue. Red, right, so you got to put them back. 1 life gone, you've got 2 lives left. Okay. You can't go on the board with 0, come on. Right, he's gone green. Red, oh, he's picked out green and red, so does he remember where the other red one is? There we go, right. You've got, 1 life left, and you're on 1?
Yeah, is that it?
Yeah, because you picked up, I think you got 1 life.
That's just unfortunate, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, at least you're on the board. That's blue.
Yeah. Oh, green.
But there was another green, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Do you remember where it was?
No.
I think it was there. Was it? Oh.
Hello.
There you go, you got 2.
That's 2. That's all right then. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
We'll crack on.
Yeah.
So that was green.
So if you get this wrong, you're done. So you picked up 2 blues, 2 reds. Oh, that's through the spanner in the work. White.
This is unfortunate. Katie, I think you've done me, girl. Oh! Pulled it out the bag.
Oh, he's got 3. Oh, he's picked 3.
It's down there.
Right. Oh, Lord, still got a chance here. If you cleared it now, I'd be fuming. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, I didn't need that.
Another white.
Oh, this is very unfortunate.
Not again. Black, done.
Yeah, done.
So 3, that's not too bad.
It's
She's still
okay.
up there.
It's okay. I think Katie's going to win this, you know.
Yeah, it's quite hard, isn't it?
Yeah. No.
Right.
Oh, blimey.
Well, finally from me, obviously, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for your time, mate. It's been nice talking to you.
It's obviously that the experience that you've had, obviously, all the way through, it's just, it can help a lot of people. Obviously, I've had the pleasure of working with you before, and I think it's quite nice when you've, especially, I know that you sort of looked at the sort of youngsters that I had coming through in that transition, and you got excited as much as I, because at one point it was only merely me that was getting excited about these youngsters that were coming through when I was working with the 18s.
Hillsy took my eye as well, you know.
Yeah.
And again, maturation wise, I think he's going to be quite a big lad, you know.
Yeah.
You know, he's not finished growing yet.
Yeah.
You know, and he gets about the park.
But we've got to have a lot of people in this sort of sector that do believe in the youngsters and can give them a chance. But then not just give them a chance and then that's it. You haven't done well, but to monitor them and then make sure that they can get to that, because you've seen it with Dennis and a lot of your lads that have come through that are now playing at a level and doing so well. So you know, your knowledge and experience and stuff like that is probably hopefully going to help a few others for this. So I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, mate. It's nice to chat about the past and you know, like evoke something like, you know, some old memories, you know, because I really did enjoy my youth coaching. I really did enjoy it. As I say, the difference now is there's not I think it's under, is it under, you'll know more than me probably, is it under 10, under 11s or 12s now that you start to have leagues proper?
Yeah, I mean, it's, the younger ones are sort of just festivals, and then it gets to the point where you're in the leagues, but sometimes they don't put the scores down at certain age groups. But you know, coming back to that sort of winning mentality, all kids want to do it.
They do.
But I think the FA are trying to just monitor it when they can go in and around it. But no, I appreciate you coming in, mate.
Nice one.
Hopefully we'll do it again. I'll pick another topic and get you in it.
Yeah, nice one.
All right. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, Chris. Thanks a lot, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers.